Hi, welcome to the Lew Perspective. This is Harold, and I'm here with Les.
Hello.
How are you today, Les?
I'm fine, Harold. I'm glad you're back from your wonderful vacation.
You hear my voice, I mean, I've been yelling and screaming on my vacation, and I'm
Oh,
just
lovely.
I'm out without that. But anyway, it's great to be here today with you guys.
Okay.
All right. And we have John in the background over here. He is actually producing this program here right now today. Les and I, we talked about maybe a conversation that about the seven wonders of the world. And Les, because Les has an extensive background in education, I wanted to sort of get his insight on some of these structures that, to me, still becomes mind-boggling. I mean, to even wrap around my mind. And I'm thinking, I studied architecture in my earlier years in college here. So I sort of wanted to get Les's insight on some of these structures and what he thinks about these as well. So
Beautiful.
anyway, Les, I often, and most people probably think about the pyramids as being sort of this massive, unexplained wonder of the world. And I just kind of wanted to pick your thoughts and see what you think about that structure in its existence here. You had any insights you can share with me on that?
On the pyramids?
Yeah, the
Well,
pyramids. What's your thoughts on
I think that the pyramids were planned. They had a lot of resources, like human resources.
Okay.
And, the human brain is pretty good because I think some of these people, and even in those days, you talk about the Egyptians, they figured a lot of stuff out.
Okay.
And they could figure how to put a pyramid together with the resources they had. And that's amazing. And again, remember, there's no time limit. There's not like you've got to build this within 5 years,
Right.
like that. So they took maybe 100 years,
I totally get that, but I'm thinking, how do they know? And let's say that you're starting this structure. Where do you start? And to get it so precise with the north, south, east, west axes to be like a degree off of being actually on it. And the size of it, where do you start to draw the line? I mean,
amazing. It is amazing. But again, there are a lot of people that are not dumb. They were smart. They understand certain things. My goodness, I think the Egyptians were really good people as far as that goes. And then they had the manpower. Do
you think they were using math? Do you think they were using?
Oh, yeah, of course. Math. They had to have some kind of math. How can you not be using math and be so precise, right?
Okay.
You have to.
Okay.
And again, these guys, like the Pharaoh, they conquered a lot of places, so they had a lot of insight from other people.
Okay.
They picked the brains of a lot of people, and that's how they developed this, and over a long period of time. I'm talking a long period of time. These Pharaoh dudes, once they became Pharaoh, they started planning their monument.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because they know that, I ain't going to live forever, so we better get started now, right? And so that's what happens. So
wow.
they're doing it.
Well, these structures were built over what, millennia?
Of course.
Yeah. Wow. Well, okay. So now, when I think about the next structure that comes to mind, the Great Wall of China.
Oh, goodness.
You've been there before, right?
Yes, I walked the Great Wall.
Did you walk the whole distance?
No, it's pretty long.
See, that's what I was thinking. Okay, just a section. So what is that section? I mean, when you talk about section, the length of the wall itself and the terrain, what did you think when you were there?
Well, I thought that was amazing. Of course, you know what they were trying to do. They were trying to keep out the bad guys. So we got to build this wall. Hey.
And how long? I mean,
it's long. Is it 600 miles or more? I think it was very long. It was a very long, but it's the whole idea. People want to keep their enemies out. Even today we got that idea still, right? So they want to build a big wall and they want to have soldiers on it. And that's essentially what they did. But it took a lot of people, and a lot of people died doing
Doing
this.
this.
Uh-huh.
So I guess, I started thinking, logistics, material, where do you get this manpower? And then over the terrain. I mean, you think as you've experienced over the mountain,
Yes.
and to have this wall and then to be precise with
Yes.
that,
It's amazing, right?
beyond amazing.
It is. But I guess one of the ideas is that the leader, what he says goes.
Okay.
So if he says, I need, 50,000 people to work on this wall, he's going to get his people. 50,000. Doesn't matter. If people die off, well, bring me some more. He wants this wall to be built. He
So
had the
how
power.
long did it take for something like that? Do you have any?
I have no idea. We have to research this and see
Okay.
how many years it took. I'm saying it took a long,
Well,
long
yeah,
time.
I would think that it would,
Yeah.
especially
300
again,
years.
300 years to do
Wow.
that. Okay.
See,
300 years.
how many
Imagine
lifetimes? In those days, people didn't live that long. I mean,
Right. And especially when you think about the people that died in the process
oh,
of building this wall.
yes.
And you say over 600 miles
Mhm.
of wall. And it's not like a little wall.
It's pretty thick.
It's pretty thick. And how wide? How wide
Wide.
is
You
it?
can have horses on there. Yeah,
Okay.
soldiers on there. I mean, it's pretty wide,
Yeah.
and they have their little outposts on there too.
So what would you think the height of it from the base of it up to the top? What would something like that, just approximately?
What is it? We have our producer here checking that out
Right.
online.
Doesn't say, but we got mileage though.
What does it say as far?
13,170 miles.
Oh, we were off by at least
600,
600 some
700.
miles on
Yeah.
that.
So it stretched.
1,000.
It stretched the whole
2,200
area of
kilometers.
China.
Wow. See, and that's amazing to think about. And you said 300 years to actually create and build this wall.
Yes.
Amazing.
First walls start 7th century BC.
7th century. Wow.
Was the best known section.
Did
Best
it
known
say
section, 300 years, 1316.
7 BC?
7 BC was when it started.
And it started in 7 BC, and then did it say when it was
The Ming
completed?
Dynasty ended it, they ended in 1644.
1644?
So,
Wow.
300 years.
So I'm saying, Harold, it's the manpower.
Okay.
And it's the person in charge. If he's the head dude, he's gonna get all his people, get all the money, whatever
it takes to do
resources,
that.
and it's crazy, right?
But so, okay, so even if you think about that individual that started that, the vision of it, did not live that long to see it.
Of course.
So in the process of that, would you say that someone else had to come in and sort of see that vision and continue it?
Of course, but
Okay.
they're handpicked. Remember, they're handpicked. Who the next leader is going to be? They have the guy that's in charge. He has a big opportunity to pick who he wants and continue the vision. He's going to get a guy that's going to see his vision, right? And then they just continue on and on and on. 300 years. That's a lot
that's
of
yeah,
people that had that vision.
absolutely.
You're talking
Wow.
about. They
It's kind
probably
of
did
like the
live.
Walt Disney Company, right?
Yeah.
Someone that, would be, when I say the Walt Disney Company, because, Walt Disney had this idea of continuing Disneyland
Sure.
long after. And it's not a seven wonder of the world, but still that kind of idea of that. So, okay. So the next one that we want to talk about is the Colosseum.
Oh my goodness. You
What do
liked
you
it,
think?
huh?
Sit there.
Well, I was sort of been there. So
When you say sort of been there.
okay, well,
It
what
ha-
happened is when was the pandemic? It was in
Oh, okay.
20.
Like 2020? 2021, thereabouts, in that
2020.
21. Okay, anyway, so my wife and I went on the cruise and Mediterranean, and we ended up in Rome, and we were going to go to the Colosseum.
Okay.
We went on the weekend. We went after we got there on the weekend. We went to see the Catholic Church, Vatican,
Right.
and we got to sit in the Sistine Chapel, and there's tons of people there. That was on Saturday. The next day, we were supposed to go and visit a lot of other places, including the Colosseum, but it got closed. The whole country closed that Sunday. Closed. I mean, shut down. Everything was closed. We couldn't go anywhere. They had soldiers out there with their big guns telling everybody, nope, Colosseum. So the only thing we could do is walk around the Colosseum on the outside. We couldn't go in.
Okay.
But that is a monstrous structure. Yeah, big structure.
That's amazing. This is one of the structures that we studied again in architectural history. And, and it's interesting now. I want to know more about it. But then when I was in school, I did not know, I took it for granted. It's like, oh yeah, that's but now I look at it and think, wow, just like what you were saying, to walk around this structure and to think that there were gladiators that fought and lost their lives in this, and how it was part of the Roman sort of culture. This was nice. So what do you think about the architecture of it? I mean, the details.
Okay, so let me
what
just...
you could see.
Well, I saw that at that time.
Okay.
But let's go back.
Okay.
When I was in the military, I had an opportunity to go there.
Oh, you did?
Yes. I went with a group from our a Catholic church on the air base that I was on. We took a little trip to the Vatican. We got to see all the fancy stuff in the Vatican. I didn't get to see the Sistine Chapel at that time because they were working on it.
Okay.
But I did go to the Colosseum, and I sat inside the Colosseum, and we had talks about the Colosseum. So I did personally myself.
Okay.
Been there already.
So had you went inside?
Inside and sat down and touched the rocks in there. So it was pretty cool. But the second time, of course, it was different.
Right.
And I didn't have an opportunity to take my wife. She wanted to go see the Colosseum so bad, but she didn't get to go.
Wow.
So that was pretty sad.
So when you were you up in the Colosseum looking down, or were you down? Were you able to get to the ground base, or?
We were on the ground base.
You were?
Yeah. The first time. So we sat on I guess you call them the bleachers, or the stones area. So it was really interesting. Amazing.
Well, I think we still, to this day, we still pick up elements of the architectural aspects of it in some of our structures today that sort of were built back then. And I would like to see that sort of like in my life journey here, to be able to actually go there and explore it and see it for myself. Another one of the structures here is the Taj Mahal in India.
I hear about it. I have seen pictures. I've never been there.
Never been there. Mm-hmm. And that's another structure that seems to be sort of shrouded in its creation mystery, like in a sense. But I mean, I've heard reports on it being that it was
built for as a tomb of a queen.
Queen, yes.
Yes. Shah Jahan built this for his wife. Mumtaz Mahal. So that's why it's the Taj Mahal. 42-acre complex.
How long did it take? When was it? Did it say anything about when it was built? Or
built from 1631 to 1653. So it took 22 years to build.
Okay.
372 years.
372 years
built
to build
for one person.
For one person.
Amazing.
This was dedication to that person, and it still stands today. It attracts millions of viewers and visitors, etc. And that
And it's a
again,
tomb, and it's
right.
a tomb for somebody. It's amazing.
It is. Do you know anything about, and I wanted to bounce back because we were over at the Colosseum, and I wanted to bounce back for a moment. The Tower of Pisa, the leaning. Yes.
Yes.
So, do you know?
I saw it.
Okay.
I was there, and we took pictures.
Was it still leaning?
Yeah, of course.
I thought maybe,
there would be tourists going to there.
I
It's not still leaning.
I thought it would be standing up straight by now. But.
No, that's the history behind that. You just gotta let it lean so everybody can see it.
Okay, so from, do you? I thought, and this is what little I know about it, is that the height of it, vertical, was such that it was high enough, and the weight of it was such that the ground base did not sustain the height and the weight of it. The reason why it was leaning. Am I in the right direction with it? Do you know?
I think that's it.
Yeah. The width of the walls on the bottom base are 8 foot thick.
8 feet thick.
And it began to lean in the construction in the 12th century due to soft ground, which could not properly support the weight.
Okay. So it was in the right direction with that.
The engineering wasn't that good at that time.
Okay.
Right?
So with that, is it still leaning over in the same trajectory? Hasn't moved in how long? When was the time frame for this?
Groundbreak?
Yes.
1173.
1173.
That's a long time ago.
Completed 1372 though.
Oh, what, another
200 years?
200 years?
Wow.
200 years.
So it took 200 years. So, but it has a lot of detail in it. Okay, do people get a chance to go inside of it?
I don't remember going inside.
You never went inside of it?
Doesn't say.
I was wondering if it was, one where you can actually only view it from the outside, but not go inside of it.
Yes. Because, too much wear and tear and weight, you don't want it to fall. And that's the whole idea. It's a big old tourist attraction.
So what was the purpose of it? Was it, and I could be wrong, but I thought they were trying to build, and maybe this is another structure that I'm mixing up with it, but they were trying to build this to heaven? No,
it doesn't say that. It's a bell tower.
It was a bell tower. That was the purpose for this.
Cathedral Square. It was supposed to be part of the cathedral.
So
it was just a bell tower.
Did the bell tower ever work? Do you know what I mean? Probably in the earlier days, you think maybe it did before it started leaning and they realized that this.
But it was leaning during construction.
Oh, it was starting to lean in construction.
And so it's amazing that they continued construction.
Well, that's
right.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Because if it starts leaning, you go, "My, if we keep
on this."
There are bells in it, so they are using it for the bells.
They are using.
There's bell chambers.
So what about now? I mean, are the bells still ringing? Are they able to? I would suspect they are not.
7 bells total, 296 steps, and they're still there. The bells are still there.
Wow,
amazing.
So when you were there, did you?
We didn't go in.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah. So now we've talked about the pyramids. We've talked about the Great Wall of China. We've talked about the Taj Mahal.
Chichen Itza, Mexico.
Okay.
You guys seen that one?
No, we're from the pyramids in Mexico.
The Yucatan.
Yes. So and that we're talking about the pyramids. How do you pronounce that, John?
Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza.
So, and that right there, how tall? Give me some context. I mean, it's interesting because we talked about that in architectural history again, and the construction of it. What was the time frame for that? Does it say, or do they have that? Because I mean, it's kind of in the direction of the Great Pyramids of Giza, but it was built in a different location, of course,
and smaller.
Yes.
It's Mayan
of origin.
Mayan origin.
But it doesn't have really a date or anything that,
Developed 900 AD.
900 AD. Okay. So it started after. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so it was built Spanish conquest 1526. This is the one where no one can walk up anymore.
Okay.
Remember, I don't know if you've seen those.
Well, I remember that they used to be able to walk them. That was the
Used to.
other, yes. Why was the reason that they just recently stopped that, or?
They did. They had on social media, they had people like doing it anyway, and then
Okay.
they come down and they'll yell at.
So what was the reason for them to discontinue the steps?
I'm sure it was wear and tear, plus probably dangerous to walk up.
I was wondering the dangerous aspect of it or so.
They do have these Mayans.
Walk around only.
Yeah.
A woman from San Diego fell to her death in 2006. That's why.
Okay.
Huh.
So that's someone from the U.S. fell to the death. You know, trying to navigate that. I suspect.
And on our cruise, we've been to some of these Mayan, these smaller ones.
Okay.
And then I've climbed up some of these.
You have.
Yeah, but they're not that one. They're much smaller. So I guess those Mayans were pretty smart people because they built these things. You know, these.
What was the
temples
purpose for that? I mean, do you know?
I
Were
don't know.
Just for the sun god, or for the Mayan chief or leader that was overseeing?
I don't really know.
Don't know. Were these hollowed out like sort of like tunnels inside, or they were pretty much exterior?
Exterior. Yeah, with steps. So you could just climb up. Oh man, my wife told me to go climb, and I said, "You're kidding." So I did, and it took a while to get up there.
So when you say a while, how long do you think that was? Something?
Well, no, a while, not that long. Maybe 25 minutes, 20 minutes.
Oh, that's a while.
Yeah. So it's pretty.
When you got up there,
yes, she looked small.
She looks small.
Very small. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That high.
Yes, it's pretty high. It's pretty high.
So how did you feel trying to come down?
Same way.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, looking down, trying to step down.
Yeah, you had to be careful and climb. No, they have it so you climb up, and then you can climb down off the other side.
Okay.
But it was amazing to climb this particular structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Machu Picchu. Have you been there?
No. Have you?
No. But they have UFOs.
And Machu Picchu?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
I've never been there, but I heard that.
Peru.
And I think I heard that. Yes, in Peru. Okay. Yeah. And I know that that they talk about, that sightings that have happened in that course of time that have been in Peru. But they also, and I think that's really interesting, and when we talk about Machu Picchu, it's always been sort of one of those, to me in my head, kind of a place I would like to have the opportunity to go visit and see it, as well. There was a song that came out that I'm trying to remember. I think it was Fleetwood Mac that did this song, and it was talking about, sort of UFOs and this, and it intrigued me to think. I never thought of Machu Picchu as that, but I've heard different statements of things that were not explained in this area. So, but you've never gone there.
Well, we tried twice.
You did. So what happened?
COVID.
That was it.
Yeah, COVID.
Do you think you will?
Probably not.
You don't think so?
Yeah,
it's not on your bucket list of things to do.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No, I'm sorry. We went through the Panama Canal. That was
you did
on the bucket list.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was that? I mean, just in.
It's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about how people engineered and figured things out.
Right.
It's just amazing how they did the Panama Canal. Got to go through and try it one time.
So so you guys went through it. You went through so you saw the elevation changes and so on. The waters. I mean, that is amazing when you think about it.
It is.
Again, that's another element of architecture. That, and in that.
Yes.
Petra is the last one.
Petra.
Where's Petra?
Now, that's what I was going to ask that. That's in Jordan? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Is it just a building?
No, it's a site.
Yes,
Coliseum.
and at the Coliseum. So, and that's in Jordan, right? Ketra. So
It's
now,
like part of a city, part of
Right.
the culture.
Just like, yeah.
so the year that was constructed, does it give that sort of?
Let's see.
Does that look almost
Inhabited as early as 7000 BC.
7,000 BC?
7,000
BC. Wait a minute. Let me try to wrap my mind. 7,000 BC.
Long time ago.
4th century BC, it became the capital.
4th century BC.
Would later become the capital city of the Nabatean kingdom in the 2nd century BC. It flourished in the 1st century AD, but it fell. That empire fell to the Romans in 106 AD, and then it was annexed. So after that, it fell. So it was a good 100 years that it was flourished.
Oh, so again, it's one of those structures where probably thousands of people worked on it over the course of that time. And it's the 7 wonders of the world, but I mean, I think it's probably more that we probably don't even really talk about very much. But in any case, I know that I always think at the very end of the podcast, we talk about some of the things that I think that the world needs, and a simple act of kindness is something that and I found something that I thought was really interesting, and I kind of wanted to share. And it was and I remember the guy's name. And I think I wrote down, and I wanted to pull this out because I wanted to kind of highlight this individual a little bit. He had gone to, and I pulled this up. It was a random act of kindness, and this guy was number 42 at the Iowa Hawkeyes. He played football, but he was driving along. There was this lady that her car had broken down on the side of the freeway somewhere there. And everybody was passing by and no one ever stopped. And here's this football player, kind of a star football player for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And he pulled over, stopped his vehicle and walked over and tried to find out how, and she was stranded, and she had a couple of kids or a kid or so in the car with her, and there was no one stopping to help change her tire or something, and she had not there. So here's this man stops to help this stranger and change the tires and got her back on the road with the kid that was also in the car as well. And I saw this and I thought, the thing that was interesting that I thought was even more so is that the lady happened to be African American, and this guy was a white guy. And for him to see her stranded and stop and lend a hand, never said anything, just helped her out and more. That to me is sort of what I think America has always been about. It's a core of itself. And I so wanted to reach out and just say that this individual is sort of the indicative of what the spirit of this country is about. In a random act of kindness, I always say, if you can help someone along the way, no matter what it is, reach out and do so. Because that is what this country drives on. That's the core of who we are as humanity, right? Anyways, it's great to have you here, Les.
Yeah,
I'd love to have you.
Good to talk.
Okay. Thank you. We'll see you next time on the Lew Perspective. John?
He'll be back.
You'll be back on the front side.
All right.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks.